He used to be the kind of man who could walk into any room and make it feel lighter, without even trying. But lately, the people closest to Yu Long have been saying the same thing in different ways. He's not the same anymore. And then, it happened. Yang Mei Mei, usually the calm one, the composed one, the person who absorbs the noise so others can breathe, finally broke down. Not in a dramatic, attention-seeking way, in the kind of way that makes a room go quiet, because you can feel it's real. What did she say that left fans stunned? What truth did she hint at, without naming names, without pointing fingers, but still making people feel like something serious has been hiding in plain sight? Stay with me, because this story is not just about a celebrity relationship. It's about pressure, silence, and what happens when love turns into a shield. It rarely starts with a headline. It starts with a feeling. Viewers do not need proof to notice when a person's energy has shifted. They notice it in the spaces between words, in the way a smile arrives late, in the silence that sits heavier than it used to. With Yu Long, the change people describe is not loud or theatrical. It is subtle, and that subtlety is precisely why it unsettles them. When someone who once looked emotionally steady begins to appear distant, audiences instinctively ask what happened in the unseen hours. What makes this compelling is that it mirrors real life. In everyday relationships, we often recognize that someone is struggling long before they admit it. The public in this sense becomes a distant witness, not close enough to know the full story, but close enough to sense the difference. The most persuasive moments are not dramatic incidents, but accumulated details, fewer spontaneous gestures, a guarded tone, a presence that feels like it has been carefully managed. This is where speculation usually rushes in. Yet the more responsible interpretation is simpler. Pressure changes people, even when they are trying to hide it. The world expects celebrities to remain consistent, polished, endlessly resilient. But human beings are not built for constant performance. So when the public says, he's not the same anymore, it may not be judgment, it may be concern, expressed imperfectly because change, especially quiet change, often signals an invisible weight. Not every emotional moment becomes meaningful. Some feel performative, some feel strategic, and audiences can usually tell the difference. The reason Yang Mei Mei's breakdown resonates in the way it does is that it carries the texture of restraint finally giving way. It does not read as a bid for attention. It reads as a moment that escaped control. There's a particular kind of silence that precedes a genuine breakdown, the silence of someone who has been holding everything together for too long. When a person known for composure starts to tremble, viewers do not just feel sympathy. They sense history. They sense the weeks, months, or even years of swallowed reactions, the careful choices to remain calm, the repeated decision to protect others at the expense of the self. This is why the moment spreads so quickly. It is not because people enjoy pain. It is because pain that is usually hidden feels like truth. And truth, especially in celebrity culture, has become a rare currency. The breakdown feels like a crack in a polished surface, revealing something more human underneath. At the same time, this is where the ethical line matters. A breakdown is not an invitation for strangers to demand more details. It is a signal that something is heavy, not a permission slip for harassment, intrusion, or certainty. The healthiest response is to witness the emotion without turning it into a spectacle. If audiences can hold that boundary, the moment becomes not just viral, but meaningful. A reminder that behind every public relationship is a private nervous system trying to survive. When people say horrifying truth, the internet tends to jump straight to extreme conclusions. But not all horror is physical, and not all harm is visible. Sometimes the most frightening truth is emotional, the slow erosion that comes from being watched, judged, and repeatedly misrepresented until you no longer recognize your own life. To keep this responsible and advertise as safe, the truth suggested here is not an accusation against any individual. It is an exposure of a climate where rumors behave like facts, where private moments become public property, where a partner is not treated as a person, but as a character in someone else's narrative. In that climate, the truth that shocks people is not that something sensational happened, but that something ordinary became unbearable. Yang Mei Mei's emotional collapse in this framing points to a reality many couples face under scrutiny. Love can become a shield, not a romantic shield, but a practical one. One person absorbs the impact so the other can keep functioning. One person learns to smile through discomfort so the household stays stable. One person becomes the quiet manager of pain. That is horrifying because it is recognizable. It is the type of suffering that does not leave obvious evidence, but changes the way someone speaks, sleeps, and breathes. It also explains why Yulong might not be the same. When emotional strain becomes constant, the mind starts conserving energy. The person becomes quieter, not because they are cold, but because they are protecting what little is left. Most discussions stay on the surface. What happened? Who is at fault? Is it real? But the deeper angles are often more important and far more human. First, there is the concept of emotional labor in public relationships. When someone loves a public figure, they are not only loving a person, they are living beside a reputation. That means they wake up to narratives they did not write, they endure judgments they did not earn, and they are expected to remain graceful because reacting is treated as fuel. Over time, this becomes a second job, managing the emotional weather of the household while the outside world keeps throwing storms at the door. Second, there is identity drift. After marriage, a person can begin to lose the right to be ordinary. Every facial expression becomes a sign. Every absence becomes a statement. The self becomes a performance designed for survival. That can change someone's eyes, posture, and even their voice. So he's not the same may not mean he changed by choice. It may mean his nervous system learned a new way to cope. Third, there is the unseen cost of protection. Yang Mei Mei's pain might not come from one dramatic event, but from years of micro-injuries, the constant correction of lies, the quiet fear of being misunderstood, the exhaustion of staying kind in a world that rewards cruelty with attention. Finally, consider the paradox of love under surveillance. The more you love someone, the more you become vulnerable to the world, using that love as leverage. That is not just sad, it is emotionally dangerous. And when people finally crack, it is not weakness. It is biology catching up with bravery. To keep your storytelling fresh while staying ethical and brand safe, the most powerful interactive ideas are the ones that guide viewers towards reflection, not judgment. One strong format is a perspective split section. Invite viewers to consider the same situation from 3 angles: Yulong, Yang Mei Mei, and the public. Ask one question for each. What would you need if you were him? What would you fear if you were her? What responsibility do we carry as the audience? This transforms comments from gossip into empathy, and it encourages longer watch time because viewers feel personally involved. Another idea is a boundary pledge, pinned comment activity. Offer a short, calm statement viewers can agree to. No personal attacks, no invasive assumptions, no spreading unverified claims. Encourage them to comment, "I choose respect," or a similar phrase. It may sound simple, but it shapes community culture, and it makes your channel safer for advertisers. You can also run a quiet strength story prompt. Ask viewers to share a time they stayed strong for someone they love without revealing names. This creates emotional connection and makes your channel feel like a community, not just a news feed. Finally, build an episodic feature called What We Know versus What We Feel. In each video, separate verified information from emotional interpretation. Audiences appreciate maturity, and this structure protects you from policy risks while increasing trust. Trust, long term, is what turns casual viewers into loyal subscribers. If Update X Renomi 4H continues covering this story, the strongest position is calm, careful storytelling, separating facts from interpretations, promoting empathy over aggression, and reminding viewers that being curious does not require being cruel. In the long run, that approach builds credibility, and credibility is what keeps a channel growing when trends fade. If you appreciate calm, respectful updates that focus on the human side of celebrity stories without crossing lines, please subscribe to Update X 24/7H. Thank you for watching and for keeping the conversation thoughtful. Stay with us because we will continue to follow the story carefully, responsibly, and with respect for everyone involved.